Hello and welcome to Piano Shack with me, Woody, and a video topic that's been highly requested. Now, as you may know, we've had the YAMAHA GENOS2 and the KORG PA5X here in the shack for quite some time, and I've had the pleasure of playing each every single day for a few months, and many of you have been requesting in the comments that I do a comparison and a shootout, so that's what we'll do today. Well, we have an easy winner here. The PA5X is built absolutely beautifully, totally out of metal and wood, whereas the GENOS is just plastic. It's not a flimsy plastic or anything, but if you just look at it and feel it, it feels much more like a premium luxury keyboard. Both of these, by the way, are about $4,000 or $5,000. Might not seem like a big deal, but to me that's important. As you're interacting with the instrument, it just feels a lot nicer. Both of these keyboards have great keybeds. On the GENOS, we have the keybed from the Flagship Montage series, feels absolutely wonderful. I'm not sure where the keyboard comes from the KORG, but I have to say it is just a touch better, even more luxurious and solid than what we get on the GENOS. It might just be because the keyboard is housed in a metal enclosure, so the whole unit just feels a little bit more robust. Both of them have aftertouch as well, and it's worth saying that the GENOS only comes in 76 note versions, but for the KORG you can get it in 61, 76 or 88 weighted actions, so you get a lot more choice there. So in this category I'll give the win to the KORG. The KORG has a tilty screen that you can raise up to whatever angle is most comfortable for you, if you're standing or sitting, or depending on your height, I suppose, which is quite nice, but I find myself just setting it to a similar angle to the screen we have on the GENOS and just leaving it there. On the other hand, the GENOS has a much bigger screen, although it does feel a little bit more dated with that resistive touch technology where you actually have to push down a little bit on the screen. But on the GENOS, the touch targets are much bigger. Everything on the screen is laid out a bit better, larger icons and buttons to press on, and it just feels a little bit easier and more friendly to operate, I think. There are also two additional screens that show the parameters of the sliders and the knobs, and on the GENOS, it's a much bigger, easier to read display and also presents more information. So I'm going to award the winner of this category to the YAMAHA here. Here I find the GENOS to be better laid out, more intuitive and friendly, with bigger buttons and easier access to the most essential features, whereas on the KORG I had to do a little bit more menu diving. For example, the real-time style controls on the Yamaha are much better laid out, with spacing in between the intros, the variations, the fill and the endings, whereas on the KORG they're all just put in a line, no spacing, really hard to see which one to hit in the heat of a moment during a performance. On the GENOS we have these fabulous registration buttons, 10 of them, where you can quickly access different songs or parts of a song. And that's something that's missing on the KORG, more about that later. On the GENOS2 we also have the LED rings around the encoders and the LED strips beside the faders, the sliders. I think that's a really cool feature. For me then, I think the GENOS wins on the front panel controls. For the operating system, again, I find the GENOS to be more easy to use, more friendly and more intuitive. Perhaps it's because the KORG is a deeper instrument. There are more capabilities with the KORG to go diving in and tweak more settings, whereas the Yamaha GENOS is a little bit more what you see is what you get. But I did prefer navigating around the OS of the GENOS. With the KORG, I definitely had to pull up the manual a lot more than I did with the GENOS. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room. There's a lot of complaints about the functionality and the stability of the operating system on the KORG PA5X. There's a lot of unhappy owners if you go into the forums and read some of the threads. They're complaining about the stability and the reliability and some features not being fully implemented yet. Now, in my particular case, I didn't stumble across any of those particular issues myself in my 3 months of owning it, and I did go quite deep into the instrument on some of the more technical features. It seemed to be pretty fully implemented to me. But in all honesty, it did crash on me one time as I was doing something in the playlist, I think they call it the songbook, selecting a song, and all of a sudden it just froze up, crashed, and then rebooted, which took a minute or so, but that would have been pretty bad in a performance situation. But for me, it didn't really matter that much. I've also seen reports of the GENOS2 crashing in a live situation as well, but I don't remember it ever happening to me. Got to remember that modern flagship workstation keyboards and arrangers are basically just a computer processor in a box running an operating system and a program, so there's always the potential for bugs and crashes, unfortunately. It's really hard for me to compare the sounds because there are so many different sound categories, and I haven't done back-to-back comparisons of both keyboards. In fact, I didn't have them here at the same time. I had first the GENOS, then the PA, so I'm having to do a lot of this from memory, and what is an important sound category for me may be completely irrelevant for you. But if I try to summarize, the acoustic pianos are equally good on both. You get the same variety and the same quality, I feel. The organ, Hammond B3 sounds that are important to me, these are your bread and butter sounds, were superior on the KORG PA5X, which has this CX3 sound engine, I think. For the synthesizer type sounds, pads, leads, basses, it was much of a muchness. I can't pick a winner there. But for the acoustic sounds, in my opinion, the GENOS2 was very much better. That's your orchestral sounds, guitars, woodwinds, brass, panpipes, flutes, all of this kind of thing. So much more realistic sounding, I think, on the GENOS2 with these super articulation voices that do these very nice phrases and things as you're playing. If you're into sound design and want to edit or create your own sounds, then I think it's fair to say that the PA5X has more capabilities for sound editing than the GENOS, although both are pretty basic compared to a workstation synth, for example. Styles is another really tricky one to compare, but here's what I think. The overall quality of the styles is pretty much the same on both. It's the same structure, the same number of parts, the same variations, intros and endings. So nothing to choose between the sound quality and the overall composition quality of the styles. Both do sound completely different though. The GENOS has a quite high-end, clean studio sound, while the PA has a fat, warm, punchy and slightly more lo-fi sound. And I really like them both actually. And that means that for contemporary genres like EDM and dance, I thought the KORG was a clear winner. But for more acoustic genres like folk and the orchestral stuff, the GENOS2 was much better. Cinematic stuff as well was very much better on the GENOS2 with its free play styles that are incredibly awesome. The GENOS2 also covers better, I think, your retro pop. There's a whole category devoted to 70s and 80s pop songs. And both of them seem to highly feature these very song-specific styles, which I don't particularly like, and I have a video all about that topic by itself. So sound-wise, quality-wise, I can't pick between them, but here's the thing. On the GENOS, you get access, well, actually, with the factory installation, you get more styles on the GENOS. I think about 800 compared to 600 or so on the KORG PA, but Yamaha also provide free expansion packs that you can download, and they give you an additional 200 or so styles, plus all of the third-party styles, and I think my feeling is there are more third-party styles available for the Tyros GENOS series, the PSR, than there are for the KORGs. For the features overall, they are very similar to each other, I think. Obviously, the manufacturers have taken inspiration here from each other. A standout feature on the PA that we don't have on the GENOS is the dual style engines. I didn't find myself using it very much because it was a bit Well, it takes twice as much time to set it up, of course, but you can have two style engines, two styles playing at the same time, and then mix and match parts in between them and even crossfade between them. It's not doing any sophisticated morphing, it's just adjusting the balance of the two styles. But that's a useful way to create your own hybrid styles quite quickly. It's a nice feature, but not something that I found to be essential. Both of them have song recorders, audio or MIDI or multi-track if you want. I couldn't really pick a winner there. Both have these chord loopers, which is a really useful feature. You can record a chord sequence, a chord progression, and then play it back over any style you like at any tempo. And you can save those chord sequences as well. It's really nice. I found actually, I think on the KORG it was implemented slightly better and easier to use, and for me that was an important feature. KORG has a basic sampler built in so you can record your own sounds. I'm sure you can probably do something rather similar on the GENOS, but the KORG makes more of a big deal about that. You've probably seen on the pictures of the front panel we have this 16 pad matrix on the PA. To me that feels a little bit underutilized. You can just trigger cheesy factory samples or your own samples or mute parts, but I'm sure there's more interesting things that could be done perhaps with that in the future in a firmware update. For me, I find myself never using it. The key feature that we have on the GENOS that is missing on the PA is the registration memory. You have these 10 buttons where you can store snapshots of the entire instrument. You can use them to store songs perhaps, or you can store parts of a song or just little ideas that you're working on. You have 10 buttons for instant access recall. You can easily save them and recall them and then save banks of these registration memories. Completely missing on the PA, you can perhaps get some similar results, it could be argued, by using the songbook and the set list, but it's a lot more of a tedious process, whereas on the Yamaha it's really intuitive and quick. For the ins and outs, it's pretty similar as well, but I'll give the KORG the win here for having professional balanced line outputs. Otherwise, they seem to have similar MIDI and audio and pedal connectivity. The GENOS has Bluetooth, so you can stream music from your phone to the keyboard and then listen to it on the headphones or through your PA system or whatever. Strangely, that was missing on the PA5X. Couldn't find any information about that, so let's assume it's not there. So then, to the original question, which is best? Well, I haven't tallied up the points for the various categories, but it seems to me that the KORG was better in some, the Yamaha was better in others, and overall it's conveniently evened out and both are equally good. And again, you need to consider which features are the most important for you. Perhaps you value the 88-note keyboard, then you have to get the KORG, or perhaps you value the premium build quality, then again you have to get the KORG. Or if you want more styles, more variations in the styles, then the GENOS perhaps is better for you. So, what should you get? What did I get? It's been here all along. This is what you should buy instead. This then is the Yamaha DGX670. It's an arranger keyboard, but in a portable piano format. It's got 88 weighted hammer action keys, just like a piano, that feel really great. It's got built-in loudspeakers, unlike the Flagship arrangers. And although it doesn't have the comprehensive features of the Flagships or the number of styles and sounds, it's still got plenty to get you going. This instrument, $850, which I find is just astonishing and remarkable value for money. Please consider subscribing to the channel. It takes a lot of time and effort for me to make these videos for you, and all I ask in return is that you click the subscribe button. It costs you nothing, just a click, but it means a lot to me. Thanks in advance, and I'll see you next time. Cheerio.